This is Austin Harrison. Jeez, Jesse. Unbelievable. Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. And today with me, I have Austin
Harrison
from Ivy Games. Austin Harrison from Ivy Games. From Ivy Studio, Ivy Games.
Ivy Studio, yeah, it's the same thing, basically. Ivy Studio is the parent company, Ivy Games is the division.
And now you also have Ivy
Workshop, I think? That sounds right.
Workshop. You've done a comic.
Yeah. So it's a graphic novel called Amora, and I hope we do a bunch more.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Cool. I don't read graphic novels enough, although I do have your Amora on my shelf, so I forget.
I sent it to you, so
yes, I do have it.
But you don't have to read it.
Well, I plan on. I read through the Command Comics graphic novels. I just don't actively have the time to read that compared to rulebooks most of the time.
Yep,
but
I
I'm
get that.
theoretically interested in them. But anyways, that's completely unrelated to this entire video, which is the top 10 games of all time for you.
For me personally, yeah.
Although it's going to be top 14, I believe.
Yeah, top 14. And the addendum is that our own games are in there, but not actually listed in the top 10. Just kind of like sneaked in between some stuff. Right. And I wasn't going to include them because it seems kind of pretentious. However, I realized that if you're making games and you're not making some of your favorite games, then you might want to not make games.
And for context, your 4 games are?
So one is unannounced.
That's why I got that one.
All right, so Mythic Mischief, Moonrakers, and Velied Fate, and the last one is not named, but the working title is Starfall.
Starfall. And Starfall is what exactly?
It is a area majority game.
You called it area majority. You did not say area control.
I didn't. I think that a area majority is a more appropriate because you do not maintain control of the region. It comes back out. And blind bidding is another way you could use it. Blind bidding and asymmetric information. What else do I need to tell you about this? Anyway, I was almost going to bring a prototype, but I wanted to focus on other things.
I'm curious. Either way, we'll get into it. So we're going to go through the top 14. The way we're having you do it is you're going to have like the 0.5. So it's going to be like, 0.5. Number 6 is this. And then 5.5, right between 6 and 5, is Starfall.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
He's like, how do you know? How do you know it's 5.5?
I'm going to have to move it there now.
I know nothing but this list past the fact that there are 4 Ivy Games titles on there. I'm just here for political commentary about how right and wrong you are.
I really am excited about this because I have no idea what you will think of some of them. But
I'm very intrigued.
Number 10. Xia, Legends of a Drift System.
Right up over there.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's great. I don't own it, and it's on my top 10. I've been trying to buy it for like a month.
It's a good game.
Yeah, it's great.
A very good game.
No, wait, I've been trying to buy it since before PAX. So
it's a very. Have you got? I mean, I know they had open pledges in the Iridia Pledge Manager.
I didn't do it. I backed Iridia.
Then you can jump on in a Xia.
I might do it.
You can go and do that.
I'm going to do that right after this.
But yeah, Xia,
one of my friends has a totally tricked out copy, and it was just amazing to see the detail on the minis and everything.
What is the tricked out?
He had like the wild inserts and like it had all the like things for the ships and stuff. It was beautiful, and they start out tricked out.
That's what I'm saying. The basic game is a painted miniatures, metal coins.
Yep.
What's the tricked out copy?
It was more the insert and the storage probably because it was all like wood and everything.
Oh, I have a full space insert for it. I have not. I don't have
it's great.
Insert.
I love it. Anyway, I just really enjoyed just the open world nature of it and the exploration, and I won, which is always good in my most recent game at a con with a bunch of people. It was amazing.
You ever played 20 points?
I haven't played 20 points.
I think it's crazy. I've never played 20.
How long does it take to play 20 points?
I wouldn't know. I haven't tried.
Yeah, that seems like too much.
I think I may have played. I think 10 is like I've played a bunch of games to 5. Every time we're starting it off again with people, like I'll try it with 5 and then see how it goes. I've played to 10. I may have played to 15. I don't remember.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a long game. The more people you have, the more you're playing to, and you don't. I mean, it's hard to get points unless you roll 20s. Then it's a different story. Yeah. But it's a really good game. I like it. I like it a lot.
Great. I'm glad you approve. Number 9 is...
Have you played Firefly? Sorry to try.
I haven't played Firefly, but I love the show, and so I feel like that's a must for me.
I haven't played Firefly, but I know that there's a camp that says Xia does it better, and there's a camp that says Firefly does it better. And I can't
because I love the theme, I might like it more, just because of the nostalgia of it. But
okay.
We'll have to see.
And lastly, sorry for interrupting, but lastly, I just realized we probably didn't really say anything much about what Xia actually is to people.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We just talked about, like, you and I are comparing notes.
Gosh, what would the main mechanics be? Exploration, upgrading your ship. It's your race to victory points. You can change the length of the game by changing what victory point you're running to. Man, I mean, mostly just exploration.
Sandbox adventure, set in space, polyomino ships as you try to figure out the weapons and the grid and all the fun things you're putting onto your ships.
I love that part of it.
Anything from pick up and deliver to shooting down enemy spaceships to
attacking your friends.
If you want to be a space pirate, a space merchant, if you've played Merchants and Marauders and you want something that does it in space and differently, that's basically high level what Xia's doing.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, number 9, Nidavellir. Did I say that right?
Ooh, I mean, you said it roughly the same way I say it. I think I've said Nidavellir.
It's hard to say that.
Is it Nidavellir or Nidavellir? I don't know. Either way.
So, once again, just tricked out copies are my thing, and I keep having the experience, my first experience being with 3D printed coins and just all this other stuff. But I absolutely love the progression of that. You can either, really go for bids and try to get out there first, or you can upgrade those coins to just have your bids be way higher than everyone else's.
Bid
and
building.
It's such a fun game. I loved it.
Have you played with the expansion yet?
I haven't. Wait.
Ooh.
Which one?
Nidavellir.
I have not played with Nidavellir.
So I have Nidavellir. I haven't played with it. I really need to dive into it. But my Nidavellir is a great game. Again, it's a bag building game. It's a bid building game. In which what you're doing is you're trying to get as many points as possible. Ultimately, there's a few main pathways of cards you have, and then each pathway you want to kind of heavily lean into at least one of them to get a ton of points with that pathway. But then you're being mindful of the fact that there's all these cool characters, all these fun stuff.
Yeah, you might go for purple, but then your other person's going for purple, and they keep outbidding you because they have better bids, and you have to like switch mid game, and it's just like it's hard.
Mess. I like going for orange personally. I should take it back. I loved going to orange until I realized I misunderstood exactly how one thing worked. Now I like orange, but not as much.
The multipliers on that is just so good if you can get enough of them.
It's really, really solid. I like Nidavellir a lot. The biggest thing is going for those characters is a lot of fun, but the game can get a little stale as you play it more because there's not a ton of characters. Nidavellir introduces new cards for that. What can I buy when I get those full row of options? 100%. It's a lot of fun. It's fast playing. It's a good game. I like it a lot.
Cool.
So for your 2 for 2.
Number 8. I'm curious if you've played this one. Joraku. Have you played Joraku?
It's a Starfall game.
It is a trick-taking game.
Is it Starfall?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Joraku. You keep talking. I'll grab my phone.
It is a trick-taking game where you have a board that is starting on one end where the victory points are highest at the beginning of the game. And then as you continue the game, the victory points are higher at the end of the game, and you're kind of marching toward the capital of Japan. Kyoto, I think, or whatever it was in the game. And then
not Starfall. I'm thinking of a different game.
But yes, that is it.
It's Medea's game design. Oh. Don't they do Hanamakoji?
Maybe.
Maybe not. I'm not sure.
So you're doing trick taking, but then it's also area control. And so when you play your cards, you're not always trying to win the trick because sometimes you want action points, and the number on the card is tied to action points, and that'll let you move troops, fight other people's troops, or add more troops to the board. And it is wonderful.
I think I've had people tell me about this game because when I covered Brian Brew, have you played Brian Brew?
I haven't played.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
So Brian Brew, when I play that's trick-taking area control, which is a very unique combination. I mentioned in my video, I was like, trick-taking area control? Like, we've never seen that before.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I got corrected by people.
Joraku is a game that is like this big, too. It is very small. I take it to restaurants. It's wonderful. I love it.
I'm intrigued because I'm liking trick-taking a lot more these days. The past several months have been an exploration and a deep dive into trick-taking for me. I have a whole bunch of trick-taking games on the floor that I just got. I just backed the 4 Northwood. If you see a little fly buzzing around, well, deal with that little nasty critter later. But basically, I've been diving into trick-taking experiences, really enjoying the nuances of different things. Some of them are still a bust to me. Because the first few times I played trick-taking, I did not like the games I played. And I just wrote off trick-taking as a mechanic. And I'm not sure if it's an evolution of the way I approach it and view it, or if I just played the wrong games. But
I think there's nostalgia in it for me because I grew up playing spades with my family, and I love that game. Spades. And so trick-taking, when I see the mechanic, it's just like, oh, yes, my family might like this game.
Oh, I hated spades.
I love it.
But yeah, I'm intrigued. I like area control. I'm liking trick-taking now, so I'll have to try that one out.
Yeah. So, 7, which we just talked about this one. Tortuga. So Tortuga, I think, is one of the best and earliest examples of what I would call a strategic deduction game.
Okay.
It has the wonderful book box of that whole series.
It's the Dark Cities trilogy or whatever.
Yep. And you're basically trying to have your team have the most treasure on a ship, or on their side of the ship at the end of the game. So every ship has either the French or the English side, and you can literally just move treasure from one side to the other, or get it from an island, or fight different things. Basically, though, you're doing social deduction. Is Alex on my team? Is he fighting for the English, or is he fighting for the French? And I am trying to help set him up for the perfect situation in which we can end the game with the most treasure. One of the things that really influenced me was on the ship is this track. It's got 4 or 5 circles, and at the top is the captain and the first mate, second mate, and you move down, and you have different abilities on actions that you can do for each one that or if you're in that spot, your character's in that spot. And that really influenced Velied Fate for me, actually, on how the quests work. And I loved that mechanic, and really, really enjoyed the game overall.
I'll have to try it, because, first of all, so far, you're 2 for 2 on the ones I've played, and those other ones I just haven't played, so I can't comment on them.
Maybe we have similar taste, then.
Maybe. But Tortuga is... I never played that one. I've only played one game from the Dark Cities trilogy. It wasn't the fit for me, unfortunately. But I haven't tried any of the others. They have Tortuga... And what's the one? Deadwood, is it?
Deadwood is the, western one. Yeah. And then they've got the Bristol.
Bristol's one I played.
Yep. And I would say out of the ones I've played, Bristol was my least favorite, but still liked it.
Okay.
Tortuga, is they play very differently, even though they're similar size and mechanics of social deduction.
I'll try.
Cool.
Number 6 or 6.5?
So now we're on to
So at this point,
6.
you've got to have like a 0.5 somewhere.
I have lots of 0.5s, but I'm a little bit pretentious in the fact that I have ranked the games that I've worked on fairly high, but I also just love those games. I've played the heck out of those games, and as you play a game, the nuances
suspicious. So we actually just talked about this. We just had a conversation this past week about how, for me, what I find tends to happen for me is the games I've had in my collection the longest, the oldest games in my collection, tend to almost have this magic wall protecting them. When new games come in, I'm like, I'd rather play that one. I'd rather play that one. And then but the flip side is the best newest games I love and I adore. I'm so obsessed with. There's a middle ground where games could 100% be better than some of the things I loved when I first got introduced to, but I've played those enough that they've built up this shield of nuance and evolution. And
you have so many different strategies you've tried. You've really nailed the one that you like the most, and it just really has shown you the depth of strategy when you play the game 100 times.
Yeah.
And I think that might be why they're so high.
I've played War so many times. I am so good at that game.
So speaking of that, opposite situation here. Sidereal Confluence is my number 6. And I have only played it once.
And you played it this week.
And I played it this week. And I would say that that's probably not like the best way to rank your top 10, but sometimes you play a game and it just is magic for you.
So the way I tend to do that is everything I think is relevant to how serious you're taken by people.
Yeah.
For me, like with pre-content creation, pre-whatever, if I played a game and it was my number one game of all time after one play, who cares? I make it my number one game. Like, what's the deal? Yeah. Whatever. As I started to like have a channel and people listening, I'm like, people are gonna give me a hard time. With this.
People don't care what I say, so I'm going for it. Well, number 6.
At the end of the day, I mean, it's interesting because it's something I've done. Like when I did my top 100, a lot of games that were towards the top of my top 100 this past year, I was like, these are still new. Yeah. I think they're gonna be higher next year. I don't think necessarily getting better. I just think that I'm not willing to put it that high after having
just
only
one player or two players.
Unless you're amazing, like some games are. But
so reason I love that negotiation,
which I like,
engine building,
which I like,
just jammed together in this wild experience.
And you played it at like 7 players?
I played it at 7 players, and it was incredible.
7's still good. The ratings in that is that I think 5, 6, and 7 are the sweet spots for it. I think 6 and 7 preferred. 8 is where like I was invited to join Ish. I was invited to join.
Yeah.
I looked up the ratings and I saw there's a big drop off, and I wanted my first experience with the game to be as ideal as possible.
Yeah. It's got to be ideal with just more craziness. Yeah. So
you think 8's
I
better?
think more.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a huge drop off when you get to 9. 9's the max player count, and there's like a huge. People are like, no, do not play this at 9.
All right. Well, maybe we should listen to them over me because I've only played once and I haven't played those player counts.
Yeah.
This actually replaced Furnace for me. I loved Furnace.
Totally different games.
It has the engine building though that is very similar.
Interesting.
And in Furnace, you're bidding.
Yes.
And you also have a bidding mechanic in Sidereal. You're bidding on tech and
for
planets.
Context, I think it's pronounced Sidereal Confluence.
Sidereal. Excuse me, I've only played it once.
I've said Sidereal my whole life until I heard someone talk about it, so I think I'm going by that one person who said Sidereal Confluence.
It wasn't Jesse, was it?
No, I would never. Please, there are 2 people on planet Earth that I will not trust to pronounce something properly, and that's me and Jesse.
I'm gonna be in trouble for that.
Everyone else.
It just checked all the marks for me.
The fun part is, I do this new pre-roll thing in front of videos. I am for sure including that bit as I pre-roll. 100%. No. Yeah.
It was so fun. If you like bidding, or sorry, not bidding, if you like negotiating in a chaotic way, it for me was like Bonanza meets Furnace meets Cosmic Encounter because there's asymmetric factions as well. It was wild.
I want to play it now.
It was wild. I love all the games I just mentioned. Well, Bonanza maybe not, but the rest of them I love.
Wow. So, I want to play it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I should have probably joined.
Oh, it was wonderful.
I was getting videos done. It's been a fun week. I've been catching up.
Yep.
Getting ahead of the game.
Number 5. Oh, no, wait.
6.5.5.
5.5.
5.5.
Is, and you're not going to be happy about this.
Oh, wait 1 second. Mythic Mischief.
It's Mythic Mischief.
Wow, you scumbag.
I love Mythic Mischief, but I am a extremely social board game player. And out of all our games, Mythic Mischief has the least social element.
Blitz mode.
You're right. That might move it up to a little bit for me. But I was just thinking Cord 1v1. Blitz mode's very social.
Blitz mode, so Mythic Mischief, for context, is a game of, it's an abstract strategy game.
I'm gonna leave it where it is.
It's an abstract strategy game of asymmetric factions. I don't know why I'm explaining your game to people, but whatever.
Please do.
Asymmetric factions, and it's one in which there are 7 factions?
7 right now, there'll be 10 in the next year.
7 right now, and they all give you a slight difference in terms of how you do things. The movement of all the factions is sort of similar. There's some differences in the amount of movement you have. Then from there, there's how you manipulate other people's pieces. There's how you manipulate walls. Then you're going to be pulling the Tome Keeper, which is this big bad guy in the middle you don't want touching you. And then there's special abilities as well to round up the circle. And from there, the goal is to either get to 10 points first, or when the game runs out, have the most points. Yep. That's standard Mythic Mischief. It's a very, very, very thinky, tactical, abstract game, which you're always trying to figure out, things are going to happen to me that are bad, and I'm going to do things to them that are bad. Can I do the bad things to them a drop more than they do to me?
Just a little bit more.
But just by thinking it out. That's standard. Blitz mode takes the core engine, but completely mixes it up. You have 2-minute timed rounds, and it's, one shot, you die. As soon as you die, you die. So your 3 characters you have, there's once, and you're playing in teams. So you have 2 teams, 6 characters. Once your 6 characters are dead, the game's over. And it changes the way you approach it. It makes it more frenetic, more fast-paced, more social.
More frenetic.
I would say, I would not know which one I'd pick as far.
Which one you would prefer?
Yeah, which one I prefer, I don't know. They both have strengths. I will say I am definitely going to play the non-Blitz mode more often, because it's less of a setup and process and all this stuff.
Less intense.
Less intense, but I like both a lot.
You're also looking at an undefeated team here, I think.
Are we an undefeated team? Were we a team last time?
The first time we were in teams, I can't remember if we lost or not.
I don't remember it. I want to look now.
But we may have crushed,
It's on camera.
We may have crushed people recently.
It's on camera. I'll go find it. Maybe we may be the undefeated team of Mythic Mischief Blitz mode.
Yeah. Anyway, so with Blitz mode, it probably would move up a little bit. I'm going to leave it where it is. I love Mythic Mischief.
You wouldn't want to make any last-minute changes to your list.
No, that would be terrible. Yeah. People would be up in arms. But remember, this is my top 10 list of all time, and it's pretentious of me at all to put my games on this list. And so having it at number 5 means I still adore this game.
Okay.
Yeah. Even though it's 5.5. Number 5 is Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Ooh. We just talked about Cubitos.
We just talked about this. And Cubitos. I played them in the same day.
Okay, which one first? I
played Quacks first, then I played Cubitos, and then I played Quacks 4 more times that weekend.
And you played Cubitos how many more times?
Never. I haven't played since. I wanted to hate Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Interesting.
I looked at it, and I was like, I don't think this is a game for me. I don't really like Push Your Luck all that much.
You play Wonderland's War now.
I am excited to play Wonderland's War.
Right.
Is it shipping? It shipped?
It shipped.
It shipped like a week ago?
I have a copy on the shelf right there.
It might be at my house, because
right
I'm 90% sure that I backed that. I love James Hudson. Alright, so I wanted to not like it. And if I go on not wanting to like something, I usually end up not liking it.
Yeah.
It completely won me over. And I don't know why, but I just got addicted to like pulling those tokens out of that bag. If you haven't played, go ahead.
How is Cubitos different?
Cubitos for me, the progression of upgrading your economy dice didn't work for me. It didn't ever click for me. I didn't see a clear progression, and then I didn't like the race mechanic nearly as much as I liked what was going on in...
I find this so fascinating. Quacks versus Cubitos. We did a full video on this. We had divided opinions.
Yep.
I find that, to me, from my perspective, if I didn't know that other people had different opinions, I would be confused as to why someone would like one, not the other. Like
you
one
think
more.
Like both.
I think either like both or don't like both, and you like one more than the other. I am baffled. To me, they are the same game. There are differences, there are nuances, there's slight adjustments, but like they're the same engine. They both have the exact same thing happening.
I think what happened is I just like Quacks so much more that it in comparison, the juxtaposition of the two made me not like Cubitos. Whereas had I just played Cubitos by itself, I may have liked it.
I kind of want to play Cubitos with you now. At some point, not
at
this
some
second.
point. Yeah. Well, we're not gonna break it out right now.
Yeah.
I'll do that with you.
Because
you gotta play TI4 with me.
I plan on.
All right,
I plan on. I think both Quacks and Cubitos are great, and for context, my opinion of the two in that video was Cubitos is higher. I've been playing a lot more Quacks than Cubitos because my wife likes Quacks and she does not like Cubitos. I know the opinion exists. I'm just baffled by it. But so I play Quacks a lot more, and I'm playing with the expansion a lot more. I've probably played, since that video, I have played Cubitos one more time. This video's like a year now. I played Cubitos one more time, and I've played Quacks like 10 more times.
Yep.
Which that can go either way. It can make me like Quacks less, it can make me like Quacks more. it has made Quacks grow on me more, especially as I've introduced expansions, tried all the various things. So I've seen a lot more, and I want to play Cubitos more to see where it continues to stack up.
Have you played with the like added little bucket on the side where if you go off the board?
Yeah.
I think without that, it's not on my top 10 list at all.
I definitely played with that, yeah.
I recently played without it, and the game just kind of ended on ties because we were all getting off the board.
Yeah, that can happen.
And I didn't like that at all.
I have the newest expansion as well, but I haven't started using it.
I haven't played the newest expansion. But once you add that little cup or whatever that's on the side, it
I just like the variety in powers, which is what you get in Cubitos as well. So I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I didn't like it. I think there's also something about rolling so many dice that have so many blank sides that's just very sad.
But then you re-roll them.
Yeah, but it just is sad for me. I don't know why.
But then you re-roll them. Do you not understand how to play the game?
I know how to play the game. Yeah, that was my problem. I rolled all my dice once and was like, this is dumb.
No, when you roll all your dice blank, that's not a problem at all.
I know, but there's something about it that I didn't like. I can't quantify it for you. I'm sorry.
To me, the thing that's sad about Quacks, and one of the reasons I like Cubitos more, is Cubitos, by the very nature of the way you roll your dice, if you roll a ton of blanks, you just re-roll them and you're golden. You're fine. Yeah. You're not going to have an issue. The problem with Quacks, at the end of the hand, is that sometimes in Quacks, you draw a bunch of white chips from the bag, and you're like,
right away, you draw 4.
I got 4. Now let's just hope I don't draw the 3 now for the rest of the round.
Yep.
That I don't like.
I get what you're saying.
I feel there's more agency in Cubitos.
I'm sticking to my guns.
You should. We don't want to make any last-minute changes to your list.
And number 4 is Cubitos. I'm just kidding.
4.5.
4.5. No, I'm not at 4.5. No.
So that means you have a 3.5? Or you might even have 2 in a row. It's possible.
I've got 2 in a row,
Oh, so you have a 3.66 or 2.66.
All right, so number 4 is Foundations of Rome.
Oh.
With a huge caveat.
I have a copy coming.
A huge caveat. I have only played it on TCS. I've never played the physical copy.
So have I.
I have played it a lot on TTS. I love it. I actually am scared that it might be way easier to play on TTS, and that I won't like the physical copy as much. But then I saw the physical copy, and they nailed it.
It's gorgeous.
They nailed it. Congratulations. Who did that?
That was Arcane Wonders.
Arcane Wonders. Arcane Wonders. Y'all are amazing. That was such an incredible production. I cannot wait for mine. But oh my goodness,
I don't imagine it'll be. I know your fear. I completely get your fear. But I think at the end of the day, think about any of the games you've played and the amount of components they have, the amount of stuff that's going on. Think about setting up and playing Moonrakers.
Yeah.
And understand what you actually do in Foundations of Rome is you take out the main board, you put it out, you take out the card deck, you shuffle it, and every player takes out their own individual tray.
That sounds super easy.
That's all it is.
Okay.
Unless I'm missing something. It's been a while since I played it, but that's pretty much all it is.
The only thing other than that would be if you had the Monuments expansion.
It's okay. Now you have another box of Monuments set up. You've played Moonrakers.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's a lot to set up.
I mean, Moonrakers it's not a lot compared to whatever. It's a lot compared to I think Foundations of Rome. I think they did an incredible job in the way they designed the trays in the box. That I think it will still be accessible.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that the fear is there.
I don't know if they've said anything about this, but I think it skyrockets when people get it, and then I'll have a second printing soon because it's such an expensive game to make.
Yeah.
But I think that it deserves a second printing for sure.
I think it's a classic. What I found interesting about it is we frequently see, even in IB games we see a regular amount of deluxeification of here's a premium product for something that didn't have to be a premium product. Totally. We see it in miniature games all the time. We see it in quality from IB games, from Merchants of the Dark Wood people, Elf Creek games,
and then Unsettled, the
Orange Nebula,
people,
a whole bunch of companies. I'm leaving a bunch off. James Hudson, speaking of which, a whole bunch of companies that just focus on deluxeification. And what I found fascinating is Foundations of Rome was an interesting one in the sense that it was like, this is a polyomino game that you're making into like a $200 game somehow. That seems unnecessary. And we see it all over the place.
It's so good.
Yeah.
If you haven't played, you have this huge grid of plots, and you get randomly dealt some.
Forgot we have to explain the game.
Oh yeah. You get dealt some to start, and then other ones come up for bid. Not for bid, just as a price, and it goes down if it gets bought, they slide kind of thing, and they get cheaper. And so you're trying to buy plots that are adjacent to your other plots, and so you can build bigger and bigger buildings. But that's not all you're doing. You also want plots near other people's big plots, because then you can put some kind of score multiplier next to them. And it is just perfect.
All your buildings have different things from economy to score multipliers. There's a Monuments expansion, which I love. The Solo expansion I have not tried at all. I want to try that. I have that coming as well. It's very, very
beautiful
good.
game.
Yeah.
Wonderfully done. All right, so that was my number 4.
Which means we're up to?
We are at 3.5.
Okay.
And
I'm guessing you're going to put Starfall here.
Moonrakers with expansions.
Starfall's higher for you?
Starfall's higher for me. So, Moonrakers with expansions.
And again, Mythic Mischief is your least favorite game, so I don't know if I trust
Moonrakers without expansions is under Mythic Mischief.
Well, Moonrakers expansions boosted up for me as well.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Moonrakers with expansions it's my own game, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But the expansions just really helped the game not drag at the end, and also just really helped sell the core mechanics that were already there of working together in the early game. And that combined with just so many more cards and things that work together really well, synergies that work together really well.
Moonrakers is a negotiation deck building game. You're going on contracts together as you go through the game. Every player has a chance of being the captain. You can choose to invite other players to help them and choose more difficult missions with higher rewards, and then negotiate how you're going to split up those rewards, the hazards, all these different issues on the mission. It relies heavily on negotiation. It relies heavily on deck building. Those are the two mechanics. And the original base game, my first game of Moonrakers, for context, I'll talk about it, it's not my game.
Yeah.
My first game of Moonrakers was one of the better experiences I've had in gaming. It was just so incredible. And then, fortunately, I don't review games after playing them once. Unfortunately, because I dove into it again and again, and the more we played it, the more we started to realize that first game was a bit of a learning experience, and we were less guarded. Subsequent games was like, well, we need to make sure you don't win. We need to make sure you don't win. And suddenly it became more of a who to invite, when to stop. We have to stop them, and when they hit 6 points or whatever. And then I had one game at 5 players that was too much. I did not like it at 5, and I don't think I'd play it at 5 again. Although I'd be willing to try it with the expansions, but I think I'd walk in biased against it.
Yeah,
but
5 players can just go longer.
Yeah, but that might go faster with the expansions, so it's a toss-up. That's my experience. And then I reviewed it, and my review was, it can give you great experiences for me. It can give me great experiences, and it gave me okay experiences. And I just don't keep games that are inconsistent.
You don't have space. I'm looking around. You don't have space for games that are okay
inconsistent. It has to be the best experiences for me. And so I did know at the time though that expansions were coming, and so I made a note like say, hey, expansions are coming that in some way address the two biggest issues, which is the cooperation aspect and the holding people back, and then the game lagging towards the end and potentially dragging out. And I've now had a few plays with the expansions, and one of them doesn't really do anything for me. I'm not against it, I just don't care either way. But the other two expansions I would never play without, and have significantly improved my experience so far. Need more plays, but significantly. Well, one thing I will say is now I just want to play cooperatively. Not that the expansions don't make it cooperative, but there's a greater sense of teamwork, which is part of the issue. But whatever, we'll talk about it.
So number 3 for me is Star Wars Rebellion.
That's a great game.
I am a super nerd when it comes to Star Wars, and I obsessed over this game. This is really before Moonrakers. I think it was before Moonrakers. Mm-hmm. So it was when I was really, like, if I was investing money in a game, it was all my own money, and I was doing it all myself. And so I watched, I think, like 4 or 5 playthroughs before I pulled the trigger. And I have played it probably 30 times now.
That's a lot of hours.
Which is a lot for Star Wars Rebellion. And for, I think, the first 17 games, I was undefeated. And not because I'm especially good, but because I kept on inviting new people to play it, and then just crushing them. But unfortunately, they all got better at the game. They all got better at the game, and now they beat me, and it's not fun anymore. No, I'm just kidding. It's still an amazing game. If you're not familiar, it's a massive game in which the Empire and the Rebellion are facing off, but how you win is completely different. The Empire wins if they find and crush the Rebellion base. The Rebels win by getting basically victory points to meet a time track that's decreasing. And so the game is very variable in length. I have been crushed on the 3rd turn where the Empire accidentally found my Rebel base.
Were you hiding close by?
I was hiding very close to Coruscant. Very stupid. It was the first time I tried it and the last time I tried it. And then other games where, the Rebels blow up the Death Star, but Luke turned to the dark side. And it's just like wild stuff can happen. And so it is truly with the expansion, a cinematic feel to some of the combat. And it's just absolutely wonderful. If you've played games like TI4, you are activating systems, but not with tokens. You're activating systems with heroes, and those heroes have special abilities and go on missions, and it's just a wonderful game.
Yeah, I played it once a long time ago. I really liked it, and I kept it around, hoping I'd get it tabled again. The problem is it's a 2-player experience, and it can run to be 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
And I just don't play 2-hour games that are that long these days. Very infrequently. Very, very. I'm not sure if I have any that are that long. I think two players, usually 2 hours is where it caps out for me. And so I just, after like months and months of having it around, I was like, I don't think it's getting tabled. I think it's going the way that other longer 2-player games have gone, unfortunately. And so it left, but it's one that I'd happily play it again. I didn't think it was the best game I ever played, not by a long shot. No. I thought it was one of the most cinematic experiences I've played. It felt like you're playing the movie.
It nails the movies. It does such a good job of it.
Adjustments.
Yep.
Have you played War of the Ring?
It's literally on my shelf of shame, staring at me every day. I love Lord of the Rings, so I'll do that with you.
Those two are compared, like heavily compared.
Yep, heavily compared. I'll do that. Let's do it. Okay.
Is that whole con plan being Lord of the Ring 2, and I'll be the rules. I'll make it happen.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good. 2.66, 2.7.
2.66. Unless you have 3 here. You have 2. You only have 2 left.
I only have 2 left. Is Starfall.
Okay.
Starfall is kind of an unannounced game for us. It's probably coming next year. But we're really far ahead on the game design at this point. And it was an initial idea where it was, all right, what if there's basically a row of cards that you could pay to see that would show you where a victory point would be on a map, and you would be able to blind bid that location. Okay. That was the initial idea, and it's gone through a lot of involvement since then. But I'm just really, really excited to get it to market.
Anything else at all?
I get so mad playing it because I see where I could have played just slightly better and beat Zach, and Zach's been beating me lately. But yes, you're collecting resources from the map. You're building buildings that are going to help you control more areas of the map, but it's very short-term control. You're just you're having area. What did I say earlier? Area majority, and then you're bringing those tokens back. You can place out a total of 10 troop power. And so if I put out a 10 somewhere, that means I have 2 zeros somewhere else, and I'm not going to win those regions or get anything from those regions. Okay. So you can almost win one if you really want to, anytime you want, at the sacrifice of losing out on a lot of other resources.
Intriguing.
So, yeah, that's where it's at right now.
Well, I like area control. Unfortunately, this is not area control, so I won't like it.
Yeah, you'll hate it.
Yeah, that's basically Starfall.
2.3 is Velied Fate. Yep, has to be. That's the last one. This is my favorite. It's my baby. The team took an initial idea that me and Zach had on a trip to the Dice Tower for Moonrakers, actually. It was on the flight to Dice Tower that we had the initial idea. And it was, what would it be like to have a game where you're hiding in plain sight? You're trying to hide in plain sight. And that turned into Velied Fate, which just delivered. So hopefully people will be seeing a lot of gameplays.
Yeah, we just had a 6-player game of that. And I want to play at 7 now because 6 players... Well, 6 players is a team-based experience, and it totally mixes up. The basic idea of Velied Fate is you're trying to have your demigod be highest in the track, or I can say demigod, whatever. You're trying to have your thing. So highest in the track in points. The problem is every time you do things to get points, there's a whole bunch of demigods in play. You might have, well, in our case, 6 players at the table, but only 3 of the demigods. And how many demigods total? 7.
There's 9 demigods.
9 demigods. Right, 3. There's 9 demigods on the table. And because it's a 6-player game in pairs, only 3 of them are actually in play.
Yep.
So these tracks are rotating higher as you go. Players are gaining points as you go, but you're always unclear who's the real demigod and who are just the feints, who are just these non-in-play gods who aren't going to affect the score at all. Because if the highest player is red and red is not actually in play, red doesn't win. Yep. It's the highest player from those who are in play. So you can ignore these AI characters who people are moving up as they feint and they make a little move here, move there. You can be obvious and potentially have players start lashing down on you if you are too obvious, or you can be incredibly subtle and perhaps be too subtle, so subtle that your point score is a 2.
Something that happens a lot.
Yeah, so it's an interesting game. The team dynamic is interesting in the sense that it allows... And teams start at 6?
It starts at 6.
Is there a team dynamic at 5, like 2, 2, and 1?
So, we could have done that. And I kind of wish we had. Because 5 is the only player count where there are more actual players than NPCs. It's 5 and 4.
So 5, 5, and 1 is an option. Could be intriguing.
Yeah, 2, 2, and 1 would be a great
2, 2,
option.
1.
I'm going to try that.
Because 7 players, the way you do 7 is you have 2, 2, 2, and 1. And so there's one player who's kind of on their own, which for better or for worse. And also Lisa's interesting aspect, which I think is very compelling, because the thing that I think was tricky at 6 players, although not that it helped us apparently, is once you start pairing off who's with who, very quickly, if you make 2 deductions about who's who, then inherently the last one's there. So if I figure out you're my teammate, and then they seem to work together, inherently you figure out what's going on. 7 would be much harder to do that. It would inherently be like, well, who's on their own? Who's
one
the wild?
One person's on their own, and they get more points at the end of the game for being on their own.
Oh, it's just that's the balance.
Yeah, that's the balance.
Yeah, very intrigued. I liked it a lot more. I've played this so far at 4, I want to say, and now it's 6. Only played at 2-player counts. 6 I liked a lot more. I thought the interplay between characters is very interesting, just in the way you can, especially if you figure it out.
Because you don't know who your teammate is, so you're spending most of the time figuring out who your teammate is, and that's a wonderful feeling when you can nail that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't nail it.
And you're number 1.
Yeah. Oh,
sometimes you don't nail it.
I'm actually on number 2.
Number 2.
Number 2, the Quest For El Dorado.
Oh, it's such a good game.
I don't know why it's my number 2, but every time I play it, I have the best experience. It is just the game I can pull out with like my really hardcore friends or the people that have never played a board game before.
I have 2 questions to you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let's teach the game first. Let's talk about the top game.
So Quest For El Dorado, you are basically racing from one side of the board to the other. You're trying to get to El Dorado first, and you have a little meeple that is going through a bunch of different regions. To go through a region, you have to play a card that matches that region, or you can trade in those cards to buy new cards. And it is just a wonderfully... It's a Knizia, right?
Yeah.
It's a wonderfully balanced experience. I love it. I actually might like it just as much at 2 players, too, because you have 2 minis.
I didn't like it as much
You
as
didn't
2.
like it?
I found it fine at 2. I thought I would like it more because of the two-player aspect. The problem with 2 that I found is one of my favorite parts is when you can make a player get stuck. You can hold them back. And when you have 2 minis, you just move the other one.
Yeah, you just move the other one.
That really, like, it took a lot of the fun out of certain moments for me.
Is the other player just, like, buying all these amazing cards during that time, though, because they're stuck?
No, it's just one or two turns of just vicious satisfaction.
Yeah.
It's almost like, hey, I got that little corner between the mountains, and I'm trying to get past, but as long as I keep failing, I'll just keep building my deck, and you're still stuck there anyway, behind me.
Yeah.
It's almost, I don't know, it's just vicious. It's vicious.
It is vicious.
But then you have those moments where you flip over that token, which you can move past the player. That's just as vicious. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, you thought you stopped me? No, really.
No, I've got this token.
So it's a lot of fun. So my two questions about it are, have you played with the expansions?
So I literally texted you, I don't know if you remember this, when Jesse was in Nashville, and I was like, should I get the expansions? Okay. And I didn't buy it. I still have not played with the expansions.
What I reply?
You said, heck yeah, I get that right now.
So what's the...
It was after I had left the store.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I think you're probably recording.
So the two expansions, there's 2. There's the Mystery of the Temples, whatever it's called, and then there is the Hexes and Heroes. I have not played the Mystery of the Temples, which is a standalone version as well. It integrates, but it's standalone. I have played the Hexes and Heroes. I really like what it does. It's a solid game. I
love it.
But and then
number one.
Oh wait, no, question 2. Have you seen the Vincent Detroit version art?
I have, and I wanted it, but it's only available in Europe right now.
Yeah,
isn't
but
it?
the store you can buy it.
Ooh,
It'll cost you $100 for the base game and the expansion with shipping included.
It's in English?
It's in English.
That's tempting.
Yeah, let's talk about it. We'll share the shipping.
Right.
Shipping's like half the price.
I think I'm in, because like I want the expansion, but I saw the new art, and I was like, I want that.
The only reason I didn't pull the trigger myself is because I was like, what if they do a Mystery of the Temples? They haven't done it yet.
And then you'd pay for shipping twice.
Yeah, that's the issue. But they also might go out of print entirely, so I'm willing to bite the bullet.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'll do it with you.
Cool, let's talk.
Let's do it. My number 1, if you know me, this is not going to be a surprise, is Twilight Imperium. I know that's such a cliche answer, because there are a lot of people that TI4 is their number 1 game, especially if they're into 4X, but I love it. I played in person for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic, let's say in March, and it was just so good to play that game in person again, because I've been playing on TTS for a long time. If you don't know what it is, you are playing as an asymmetric faction that is basically trying to get the most victory points there's a lot of ways to get victory points. You could fulfill objectives, you could have secret objectives, you could control the middle of the board called Megatal Rex. There's just so many different ways that you can go about winning that game. It is very long.
Yes.
Most games are going to be 6+, I think.
Hours. Players.
Yes, 6+ hours.
Potentially players.
Yeah, I think the most recent one we did was around 7. And it is just so much negotiation. You're negotiating over almost everything. And there's lots of different ways you can play. There's people that they text each other, and that's fine. There's people that you can only talk above board. So if you're negotiating something, you have to do it in hearing of everyone else. And it just is this culmination of a massive game of I am trying to take over the galaxy, but that action might not be the way that my faction's going to score points. I might need to stay back and need to research stuff. And every game's a little bit different based on who you play and what the objectives are. And I love it.
Yeah. I haven't played it, sadly.
I want Alex to play it with me.
Yeah, we're making plans. And TI4 is a game that I got rid of at a certain point. It's actually still on my shelf. I haven't gotten rid of it yet. But it's going away from the sense that I don't know when I'm going to play a 7-hour game. Now, obviously, my life has changed since the last time I hosted that video. But really, our current plan is to potentially do it at a convention because I think... Also, 4X in general. 4X is a genre which I've always liked a lot, but never completely loved. Because I often find either... And I haven't played Twilight Imperium, obviously, but I find that either I'm doing well and I feel bad because I'm currently crushing your base, and at which point we're going to stuck in a 7-hour game and I'm like, I'm crushing your base and I'm sorry, but this is what's going to happen. Yep. Or I'm doing poorly and I'm stuck in a 7-hour game that I'm doing poorly. Yep. And I feel that way about games that are, 3 to 4 hours long in 4X genre. Yep. So, I'm intrigued. But
a couple of caveats on that. It's actually a 3X game until you add Prophecy of Kings, because there's not really exploration in the game. There's moving to different planets, but you're not really exploring anything. The Prophecy of Kings expansion adds a ton for me. It adds new units, it adds lots of different ways to get points and upgrades. It's wonderful, so definitely check that out. But one other thing you said sparked something for me. It's kind of got that catch-up mechanic of Moonrakers, where if there's someone in the lead, the other people are going to start making deals without them. And so when you're feeling like you're crushing people, you're also terrified because you're being cut out of a lot of different things. And so I think it does balance itself really nicely into the end. Now, are there people that are going to have 4 points at the end when someone wins with 10? Probably. But a lot of times they also had a lot of fun still.
We'll see. I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to playing it when I eventually do. But that's it. These are your top 14, apparently.
My top 14.
Top 14. Your own game's very low on that list. Very low.
Hopefully, I didn't come across as really pretentious for putting mine in there. But if you're not making your own, if you're not making games you love, then don't make games.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, I'm curious more that the ones you mentioned that the ones you mentioned.
I'm just thinking about you taking me to task for Mythic Mischief being so.
Oh no, that one. Yes, that one I'm a little offended by. Mythic Mischief, for context, is a game I absolutely adore. Moonrakers, I'm currently on a redemption arc with the expansions, and Velied Fate I think is really good, but
it's not going to be anywhere near your top 10.
No, not in the slightest. Yeah. Moonrakers, I want a co-op version. I really want a co-op version.
I'll talk to the team.
I really liked it with the expansion. The problem is the expansions really made me feel like I'm working together a lot more until the end when someone has to win.
Yeah, someone wins and you're like, oh hey.
I mean, like, I know we're playing a competitive game the whole time. It just felt like whatever. Anyways, we'll figure that part out later. But I am offended by Mythic Mischief. But I do need to try the other two. There were a few that I had not. Three, I guess I had not played. But we'll try that. Yeah. Anyways, this is Austin Harrison. Jeez, Jesse. Unbelievable. Austin Harrison. I immediately caught it. Austin Harrison from IV Games. It's not my fault.
It's not. It's Jesse's fault.
It's Jesse's fault. Unbelievable. Yeah, Austin Harrison from IV Games and IV Studios and all of that stuff. And I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Thanks much for sticking out this long, and as always, have a good one.
See ya.
Unbelievable. Can't believe I said it.